Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining us from. I'm so excited you're here with me today at our ICND Insider webinar. My name is Jessie Mostipak, and today we'll be talking about the human edge in an AI world. And we'll be specifically focused on the fundamentals of expertise, experience, authoritativeness, and trust. So before we get started, I would like to talk a little bit about intercoastal net designs and why you might be interested in choosing ICND. We are number one in the industry. We've been voted the top website and digital marketing provider by vacation rental managers because we deliver results. We also provide solutions for every stage, whether you're a startup to a multi-market powerhouse. Our Access Core, Premium Signature, and Enterprise tiers are built to meet you where you are and also grow with you. We're also scalable and future-proof. Whether you're launching your first site or managing multiple brands, we build smart, scalable platforms that evolve with your business. We also employ custom design that converts. We build stunning, responsive websites designed around your brand and built for performance. We are also PMS ready or not. So we have seamless booking functionality, whether you're integrated with the PMS or managing independently. We also employ conversion-focused tools, including features like price alerts, booking abandonment recovery, mobile-first booking engines, and more. So you don't just get traffic, you get bookings. We're also fast, transparent, and supportive. You'll get live support from real people who understand the vacation rental industry. And we are trusted partners, not just providers. Since 1999, we've empowered over 600 property managers with smarter, high-performing websites and digital strategies. So now that you know a little bit about ICND, I'd love to tell you a little bit about me. So again, my name is Jessie Mostipak, and I am a digital marketing specialist here at ICND. And in some of my prior roles, I've worked primarily as a developer advocate in tech at companies like Base 10, Posit, formerly RStudio, and Kaggle. And developer advocacy is a lot of software development, marketing, education, and community building all wrapped into one. In my time at Base 10, I was doing a lot of machine learning and deep learning infrastructure. At RStudio, I was doing open source software development. And at Kaggle, I was focused largely on machine and deep learning with a focus on tensor processing units. But overall, really, I operate at the intersection of data, tech, marketing, and communications. And developer advocacy is such a fascinating position because it ties in really well to my role here at ICND. Developer advocacy works because of authenticity. It's all about knowing your brand as a developer advocate and then aligning your brand with an organization to build trust and influence some kind of customer or guest action. So this is all great professional information about me. I also live outside Chicago. And then maybe the most important thing you should know about me is that I love cake. Love cake. I have loved cake since I was little. This is what we would call a very authentic picture of me in an authentic moment. I think I was 1 year old, and my parents weren't sure if I was going to like chocolate cake or vanilla cake, so they made both, and that started a lifelong love of cake. So I've always loved cake. I have a lot of opinions about cake. And so when ICND and I were talking about making this webinar, I was like, I bet I can make it about cake. And I have. So thank you all for being good sports in my cake metaphor talk. But really, what does cake have to do with vacation rental marketing? And the way I want to approach this today is to talk about this idea of cake, right? The cake piece and the icing together, where AI is everywhere, right? I think 10 years ago when we were talking about LLMs, it was kind of like this niche group of people talking about it. It wasn't something you'd like go down to the coffee shop and be like, oh yeah, LLMs, let's talk about generative AI. But now it's part of the broader vernacular. AI is everywhere. And I would argue, though, that the basics are still critical. The basics being experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. AI doesn't work without these foundational components of EAT. And you'll hear me say EAT, EEAT, or spell it out as experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness throughout this talk. So I want us to think, for the purposes of this talk, of AI as the icing and EAT, EEAT, as our cake. And we can always adjust the ratio of cake to icing. But really, what we want to talk about today is how our foundation is our competitive advantage. And when I say our, I really mean your, as a vacation rental agency. That, the basics are your competitive advantage. It's something we've been doing all along. And so I want you to leave this talk with actionable EEAT things that you can start doing today. So with that, this is the most chaotic slide that I have. I don't know if this is how you feel when you Google something like vacation rental AI. This is how I feel. This was like a 3-minute search. I was overwhelmed by the amount of information that was out there. And it just feels like there's more and more every day. And it's growing at this almost exponential kind of rate. And in a lot of ways, it leaves me feeling like this, right? Like things feel volatile in a way they can feel maybe a little out of control with so much AI. It's hard to know what's working, what's not working, what should you pursue, what can you kind of leave behind for right now and pick up later? Do you need AI? Rankings are everywhere. Everything is all over the place. And I know for a lot of people, myself included, there are times where it feels like things are changing faster than we can keep up with. And so, in all of this, I want us to always be able to come back to this idea of cake, right? AI doesn't work without the foundation, right? We still need, no matter what, we need this experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. And as I mentioned earlier, we can always adjust the ratio of cake to icing. So I hope that you will please forgive my incredible Photoshop jobs here. But again, if we're thinking about cake as the foundation and then the icing is the AI, there are people who love more icing than cake, right? Like they want all of that icing. So those are the people who are keeping up with AI. They're the early adopters. They are trying things out as soon as they're released. They're kind of cutting edge and they are testing things out. And even if they're not incorporating everything into their vacation rental platform or agency or business, they're still thinking about it and thinking about ways that they can do that. Then there are people who kind of like an even ratio of AI to cake. They're like, we're not gonna necessarily stress out about staying up to date about everything, but like as things come along, we're gonna use it and we're gonna fold it in with our already existing practices. And then there are people like on the right who maybe they don't want a lot of icing or frosting. I'm gonna use icing and frosting interchangeably. They don't want a lot of icing or frosting on their cake. They really love the fundamentals, the foundation. They want to build from there and like layer in the AI as it makes sense. All of these are great approaches, and it's really about understanding what approach works for you. And just because maybe you aren't a big AI adopter right now doesn't mean you can't change and start adopting more AI later. Or if you're a big AI adopter now, some of that is going to like maybe you want to pull back later. It's all very fluid and flexible. So, with that, I do want us to think. I'm not going to read through the whole slide. What I really want, and I would we'll put the link to the article in the description. We'll do that for anything where we have references. But I want us to think about AI as almost an umbrella. So right now we are talking about AI. When we talk about AI, a lot of what people are referring to is generative AI, right? These large language models using things like Gemini and ChatGPT that are generating content and ideas and things from that. But AI also encompasses a broad spectrum of things, including machine learning, which is kind of your more traditional algorithms and things along those lines. And so, if you want to get into the details, this is a really good article to get started with things. But again, our goal is to make you feel less like this when it comes to AI and kind of more in control of what's going on and what you need to integrate and what you don't. So one of the things I want to do is talk about the ways that you may already be integrating AI. One of those is dynamic pricing. So when dynamic pricing first came out, it was new, it was big, it was exciting. And maybe in a lot of ways you felt about dynamic pricing the way a lot of people feel about AI now. It's overwhelming, it's a lot to think about. Which platform do I want to use? Should I incorporate this? Should I not incorporate this? And now I think for many of us, dynamic pricing is just incorporated into our business. So dynamic pricing is where we are automatically adjusting rental rates based on real-time market data, things like demand, seasonality, local events, competitor pricing. And this is something that AI does really well. AI is going to be quick to respond. It's able to make near instantaneous adjustments. It takes advantage of changing variables faster than we maybe even know those variables exist. From a human perspective, this is something you or I could sit down and do, but it would be an overwhelming task. We probably wouldn't be as fast at this as AI, and it's probably not something we would want to sit down and do 24/7. Another area where you're probably or potentially using AI is in chats and in Q&A. And these are really great areas for AI because things like Q&A are very generally very clearly defined questions with clearly defined answers. So we've got phone calls, live chat, other ways that guests can contact us with comments, questions, inquiries. And when we have these well-defined question and answer pairs, AI is perfect for this because it's quickly and efficiently handled. Whereas from the human perspective, this can be something where there are times where, yes, the human should absolutely be the one on the phone giving precise information. But how many times have you answered the same question from different people? And how much of your time does that take up? So this is where things like chats and Q&A kind of offloaded to AI can save you time. And then another area I'd like to talk about is actually one of my favorite marketing tools, which is email marketing. So email marketing services generally have the option for something. There's a lot of AI and traditional AI used in this and machine learning and things like that. But one of the features I want to talk about is usually you can choose the best time to send an email to your audience. And the idea behind this is that it will help increase your engagement rates. So from an AI perspective, your email provider, if it's MailChimp, some other service, it has access to data, not just for your account, but other similar organizations. And it probably has a team of people dedicated to building the model or models that determine the best time to send an email. That's amazing. From a human perspective, you or I could do this. We could do a bunch of tests, see when people respond, but we wouldn't have access to other organizations in the vacation rental industry. And it would probably take us a good deal of trial and error. So for those of you who are feeling a little FOMO or a little overwhelmed by I want us all to keep calm and EEAT our cake. For those of you using AI, I would love if you could drop into the comments or the discussion and tell us about how you're using AI, places you like to go to learn about AI, and how AI has helped you in the vacation rental industry. I would love to get a discussion about that going. But at this point, we're going to kind of leave the AI behind and we're going to get more into that human edge of things. So with that, I want to talk about EEAT as a strategic response. So the State of SEO 2026 report just came out from the Search Engine Journal. I say just, it was this summer. So it's recent, it's recent enough. And one thing that I thought, and now we're talking about the broader SEO world, so we're not talking about vacation rental markets specifically, but the broad SEO world, the marketing world, almost 80% of professionals surveyed are worried about AI reducing website clicks. And then they're saying that about 50% of the people surveyed, the SEO professionals surveyed, plan to invest in EAT reinforcement, which suggests that about half the industry recognizes EAT as the strategic response to AI. And one of the questions I get that's kind of tied to this is about the zero-click searching and AI overviews. And that is, in a way, a lot of what we're talking about. So if you've never seen it before, you probably have. You may not know it as this. This is an example of an AI overview. And this is what we mean a lot of the time when we're talking about zero-click searching. And by the time you're watching this, this may have evolved already. This has been evolving really, really quickly. I think just a few months ago, you would come in and you would see the AI overview, and it might just be this text on the left. Now they've started adding in links so you can start sourcing things and figure out where this information is coming from. But the idea here is that and I tried to do something that is outside of kind of our what I'm currently working on. So if I wanted to do something like the best city to vacation in Italy, that might be something where we would expect some vacation rentals to pop up, but I would also expect things like things to do, or I would definitely expect some Reddit posts. And what I'm getting at the very top of my search is this AI overview. And so the zero click comes in because what people are worried about, and some of what we're seeing is that people get this AI overview and they're like, oh, my question's been answered. I don't need to research further. I don't need to scroll down. I don't need to click on any links, right? So if I best study to vacation in Italy, it's even gone and split it up into different categories. So if it was like, oh, maybe I wasn't even thinking about the type of trip I'd like to take, but already this AI overview has kind of broken it out into history, food, unique and romantic experiences, and then like the other category. So there's a lot of information here that traditionally what we have done as internet users is search through various posts and blog posts and websites to kind of triangulate this information on our own. And now we're getting a lot of that through an AI overview. So one thing that, and this could, again, AI is changing so quickly. But one thing I want to talk about in AI mode are these zero-click searches. I do frequently get the question, how do I get my property? How do I get my vacation rental? How do I get my company to show up in these zero-click searches? And as of right now, these do not operate in the same way that traditional SEO works, right? Where we can take a keyword, we can do a lot of work on your website with PPC campaigns, with social media to really start to move you up in the rankings and show up on that first page of Google. Right now, there are no established best practices for guaranteeing that someone is going to show up in these zero-click searches. And one thing that I thought was really interesting, and this is again from the Search Engine Journal, and this is from July 2025, not that long ago, that zero-click search, there's only about a 9% overlap across repeat searches for the same query. So if all of us on this webinar right now put into Google best vacation rental Italy, we would not get the same URLs. Only about 10% of the total URLs that each of us get returned from Google are going to give us those same URLs. So the system is frequently pulling different pages, even from within the same domain. So as of right now, this is a very low consistency target for us to be targeting as vacation rental marketing professionals. So let's talk a little bit about EEAT as a strategic response. Again, 80% of SEO professionals are worried about AI reducing website clicks. We're seeing that across the industry. Outside of our industry, website clicks are down, but we do see generally broad agreement that EEAT reinforcement is going to be that best strategic response to AI. So I've been talking about EEAT. I've been using this term over and over and over. Like, what is it? So this is a system that was originally developed at Google. There's a link below if you want to read more on this. And so Google pulled together these categories, and the idea was that if it evaluated a website for trust, authoritativeness, expertise, and experience, it can then surface the most reliable, trustworthy, and valuable content for any search query. So this benefits you and I as end users of the internet by giving us higher quality search results. And then it also benefits brands and creators who invest in building genuine expertise and authority in their field. So, we've got experience. So how much firsthand experience does the creator have with the content? How much skill, expertise, and knowledge do they have about the topic, falling under expertise? Authoritativeness, are the author and the website reputable? And then trust, is the author and the site transparent, reliable, and secure? And Google really does feel like trust is central to all of this. So let's take this a step further and look at it in terms of the vacation rental industry. So we have things like experience, like demonstrating firsthand experience with your property and your destination. Expertise, showcasing the knowledge you have about your properties, the local area, and your organization. Authoritativeness is becoming a recognized authority in your niche and building a strong online reputation. Trust, of course, building trust through transparency and social proof. We also have a couple of really great blog posts on this. Again, links at the bottom, and we'll put them in the description for you as well. But really, this is how we approach vacation rental EEAT. So what I want to do now is walk through each one of these categories and talk about what that could look like. So let's start with experience, right? So demonstrating firsthand experience with your property and destination. This is really important. So this is something where AI can absolutely generate a list of top 10 local restaurants that's published to your blog. You, as the person answering the phone or talking to the guest and interacting with the guest, you may remember that they mentioned they're celebrating an anniversary, they like Italian food, maybe they honeymooned in Italy. And so you personally call the best, yet lesser known family owned Italian place and book them a table. So I realize a whole bunch of you are like, listen, Jesse, yeah, I would love to do that for every one of my guests. One, I don't always talk to every one of my guests. And it's also really intense for someone who has more than a handful of properties. It's even intense for someone with a handful of properties. So, is there anything that a VR company could do to demonstrate experience? And the answer is, of course, yes. So, some actionable experience tips that I have for you are using high quality, unique photos and videos of your rental, highlighting the actual amenities and what the experience is like. This means, yeah, going in, getting those good photos. You want them to be high resolution. You want to show off the beauty, the attraction. You want people to look at the photos on your PDP and on your website and imagine themselves there and understand what that experience is like. High quality photos is one of the top recommendations I have. Also, consider writing blog posts from your perspective about local activities, hidden gems, maybe unique rental features, and then kind of avoid some of that generic marketing copy. And then I would also suggest encouraging and featuring authentic guest reviews and photos that speak to their positive experiences. Now, one common question I get about this is people will say, well, I've been using AI to write my property descriptions. So, how can you ensure that AI descriptions don't sound generic and actually demonstrate experience? And this is where I think it's really important that if you're using AI to write property descriptions, write copy for your website, to really take the time to use AI as a starting point, but then to really go through and edit it and make sure not only that it's accurate, but that it is in your brand's voice. Think about your brand. Are you kind of a fun weekend getaway for local families? Are you a luxury resort where people come and they do, a month-long retreat? What is your brand voice? And make sure that brand voice comes through in your copy. I would also suggest reading other profiles, property pages from businesses kind of in your same area or demographic or kind of niche and see what terms they're using. There are terms that get really overused in the vacation rental industry. And so I generally assume that if something is nestled, whether it's a cabin nestled in the woods or a cottage nestled in the mountains or something like that, it is probably AI written because AI is scraping from the internet, feeding that into its engine, and then turning out similar marketing copy. So just make sure that the terms, the terminology are aligned with your brand voice. I'm not saying don't use AI, but use it as a starting point. And then go from there. So that's what I have for experience. So let's talk about expertise. You're all experts in your properties, in your businesses, and you're probably also experts in your local area. And so you really need to showcase that knowledge in a way. So one way that AI could do this is generating a list of nearby attractions. But again, these may not be accurate and they are unlikely to be tailored to the guest. So think of this in terms of you generating a list of nearby attractions using AI and posting it to the website, and not necessarily a guest who's very AI savvy and has a bunch of saved preferences and is like, knowing that I like these things, they spent months to a year or two building up kind of their AI profile, and their model can generate things more tailored to them. Think about this as like you using AI, or we as a, writing the vacation rental copy can generate that list of attractions. But you as a human know the traffic, again, a very specific situation. The traffic is always bad around dinner time. So you text your guest a recommendation to take a less traveled and more scenic route to a favorite local attraction. Again, are you going to be able to do this for everyone? No, it doesn't scale. But this could be something great to do on occasion or when it warrants. But some additional actionable expertise tips. One, creating website content, again, from your perspective, that highlights local restaurants, activities, and events to help establish you as a local expert while providing genuine value to your guests. Huge, huge win. And then if you have professional experience in hospitality, property management, or related fields, mention it on your website's About Us page. Don't shy away from highlighting your experience, certifications, and length of time in the business. One, you should have an About Us page. And two, this is a great place to tell your story and also demonstrate your expertise, that you know what you're doing, that if you've taken the courses, if you've got the degree, get credit for those things. And then this is where we're going to touch on one of my favorite topics. So website content. One of the common questions I get is like, oh, well, should I make a things to do series of guides and blog posts for my website? And this is really hard for me because as a content creator and someone who loves to write, I want to be like, yes, of course, that's amazing. But what we really want people to do is to think about your website as having a purpose, right? And for many of you, your purpose is bookings. You want people to, one, find you, two, book a stay, and three, ideally, keep coming back. So when we write blog posts, a lot of the time, the blog posts are really helpful, but they're helpful to people who aren't interested in your property or are already in the area, staying somewhere else and looking for things to do. That doesn't mean don't write blog posts, don't do things to do guides, but think about ways to bring the two together. So some of the most effective things I've seen, some people will write a blog post about let's say there's a local harvest festival. And what they've done is they've incorporated properties into that post about the harvest festival. So it may be, if you want to be part of the action, just steps away from the festival, check out this property and then mention some of the great amenities. Or if you're bringing the family and want someplace quiet but close by, check out this property. And so ways to highlight the local events, highlight things that are happening, and also show your properties and demonstrate your expertise and, again, your experience and knowledge of the property and why it's a perfect fit and who it's a perfect fit for. That's a really nice way to bring these things together so that you are really helping to streamline the people coming to your site and then encouraging them to book one of your properties, hopefully for one of these events. So that is expertise. Let's talk about authoritativeness. So this is really about becoming a recognized authority in your niche. And when I say niche, what I'm talking about is like, are you kind of a Southeast beach rental, right? Are you focused on luxury? Are you focused on boutique properties? Are you focused on ski in, ski out properties? So it doesn't have to be super specific, but the strategies you'll use for, say, a ski in, ski out property are going to be very different for the strategies used in a like island cottages industry. So the idea with authoritativeness is to build a strong online reputation and then get recognition from other credible sources. So from an AI perspective, AI can be really helpful in optimizing your SEO keywords to make it easier for prospective guests to find you. And then the human perspective is to network, collaborate, and build relationships with local businesses to help establish your brand as a voice of authority and not just a place to sleep. There is no shortcutting for networking and collaborating and building relationships. This is something I'm sure that you are all doing, and it never hurts to do it a little bit more. So other actionable tips to help build authoritativeness are building backlinks from authoritative websites, things like local tourism boards, chambers of commerce, travel blogs. One of the ones, our huge favorite here at ICND, is claiming your Google business profile and then optimizing your listing with accurate information, photos, and links. A current and well-developed Google business profile is a critical factor for local SEO and really helps build authority. And then also partner with local businesses and build collaborations with other respective local businesses to help boost your collective authority. So I love talking about Google Business Profile. One of my colleagues, Diamond Franson, taught me everything I know. She's done a fantastic job. She's very passionate about it. That passion has come through. And I often get asked for suggestions on quick wins on optimizing your profile. So I would say number one, claim your profile. If you do not have your Google business profile, I want you to pause this webinar. I want you to go check. I want you to go claim that now, because verification is a process. But you really want that. And then what's nice is that Google will put like a little like a pie graph in the corner to show you how complete your profile is. You want that a full circle, right? Like getting all your steps in for the day. You want it at 100% complete. And then you want to make sure all of the information is accurate, kind of across the board, your name, your address, your phone number, your website, your hours. And then you've got the appropriate category. And then I would say probably the biggest recommendation, I mean, photos, of course, high quality photos. After photos, the biggest recommendation I have for people is responding to all reviews. You want to show activity on your Google business profile. You don't necessarily have to go so far as to put up posts, but I would say if someone writes a review about your property, you want to respond. There are different ways to handle it. Obviously, if someone gives you a 5-star review and a glowing review, thank them, say nice things. If someone does not have a good experience, our general recommendation is to acknowledge that they've said something and then let them know that you will follow up and then follow through with that follow up offline. But being active on your Google business profile is really going to help you, especially in terms of local SEO. So authoritativeness, something we could talk about for a long time, but let's move on to trust. So when we're looking at trust is really the most critical element, and it's built through being transparent, reliable, and providing security. So from an AI perspective, right, AI can do things like facilitating a secure payment gateway. The human perspective, I mean, trust is earned in that 2 a.m. human to human interaction, right? Where, say, a pipe is burst in a vacation rental. May it never happen to any of you, but it does happen, right? There's an emergency. And you have to be the person on the phone. And you offer empathy, a solution, a sincere apology, and proactive compensation. So again, no one likes a 2 a.m. emergency, but when it happens, being someone that people can rely on, that they can trust, that you can kind of smooth things over and make your guests feel comfortable and safe goes a really, really long way. I'm not saying go out and make sure all your pipes burst at 2 a.m. so that you can provide this feeling of trust for your guests. So let's talk about ways that we can provide trust in a regular ongoing basis. So one, clearly state your policies, pricing, what guests can expect, and be honest about any limitations or rules. So I would make sure if you do not allow pets in your properties, or if you don't allow pets in certain properties, make that very clear up front so that you don't get guests showing up with their dog and then finding out that they can't stay in the property. Make it easy for potential guests to get in touch with you through multiple channels. There's a flip side to this in that if you have channels for communication listed on your website or on Google Business Profile, you need to use those channels as well. So if you have a contact form, but you never respond to anything that comes in through the contact form, you're better off not having a contact form or building it into the processes to make sure that anything that comes in through that contact form is dealt with in a timely manner. And then again, reply to guest reviews, both positive and negative, to show you are engaged and committed to providing a great experience. So another question I often get is, what are the most critical trust signals that guests look for on my homepage, right? So they've come on vacation, my vacation rentals, jessiesvacationrentals.com. They have not gone anywhere. They're not even at booking. What are some things that people are looking for? And I would say a professional design. Professional is going to mean different things to different people. So I would say when I say professional, I mean brand aligned. If you are a beach rental, don't have pictures of snow in the mountains unless you are in a location where that's possible, right? But you really want something that's kind of polished, clean, modern, with a clean layout that's really easy for a user to navigate and get around. You also want to have high quality visuals. Again, if you're using illustrations, that's a little bit different, but for all of us in the vacation rental industry, we're probably using property photos. We want these to be high quality, properly sized. And where possible, we want to avoid generic stock photos and we want to avoid repeat photos, right? So if you, let's say, have furnished apartments or condos and they all kind of have the same decor or layout, look for little ways to make photos different between units, whether it's throw rugs or art or decor, because people will be like, wait, if all of these photos look the same, how do I know what I'm getting? Again, navigation. It should be really easy for potential guests to go from your homepage to look for properties, right? So that's where we want to look at things like filters or different vacation rental pages for maybe specific areas or amenities, all the way through the booking and checkout process. And then you want your content to be correct and readable. We can all have typos, right? We are all human. A typo here and there is fine. But if you have a bunch of typos everywhere, it starts to signal that maybe you're not paying attention to details, and maybe not putting enough care into the potential guest experience. Again, I would also recommend having an About Us page, especially with photos of you and your team. This kind of helps humanize the experience and helps build that personal connection for your potential guests coming in. And then the best advice I have is if you're not sure where your website falls, I would recommend sitting down, kind of clearing your head and being like, okay, I'm going to pretend I'm not the owner or the manager or the marketing director or the employee in any way. And I'm going to pretend that I want to book a property with my company through my website. So sit down, open the homepage, and take notes. What do you see? What could be better? What do you like? And then go through the process of trying to find and book properties through your site, right? Is it easy to find what you're looking for? An example would be if you have a bunch of rentals within, let's say, a condo association. Is it easy to find that condo association? Is it easy to find what you're looking for? If you have beachfront rentals, is there an easy way to go and find beachfront properties through your company? Take notes, use that, and then use that to inform how you design and update your website. So I know I've given a lot of information. Some of you are probably like, oh, wow, I thought AI was overwhelming. Now I feel really overwhelmed by the foundations, and I don't want you to feel that way. So I want to talk about how you can have your cake and eat it too. And with that, I would suggest reaching out to ICND and considering scaling up with our digital marketing services. So as a digital marketing specialist, these are all things that I'm familiar with and I would be happy to talk to you more about, but we kind of do 4 main categories of work that ties into building all of these categories. So we do search engine optimization. Both our production and SEO teams work very closely together to make sure that our websites are up to standard in every way possible on every search engine on the web. We also do pay-per-click marketing. We're all AdWords certified by Google, and we do specialize in PPC campaigns across all major channels. We also do email marketing. Our team has worked with multiple email marketing platforms, and we can build you campaigns that will give you results. I will also say, I think email marketing is one of, hands down, the best ways to cut through the noise of AI and reach your potential guests directly. I think email marketing is very powerful and will continue to be more powerful, especially as the world of AI evolves and scales. And then ICND can also work with social media. We can help you grow your social accounts while increasing website traffic and conversions. So let us show you how you can leverage your social presence to build your brand. And then what is, we'll bring it back, right? So we've just talked about a bunch of cake. We talked about all the cake components, kind of strategies and techniques that you can use. But what is ICND doing with AI right now? And we are constantly, this I think is probably the benefit. I think there are a lot of benefits of going with an agency, but I think this is one of the biggest benefits of going with the agency like ICND is that we're a team of people. We work with vacation rental agencies of all shapes and sizes around the world. And we are all researching, staying up to date with what's happening in AI with regards to the vacation rental industry, but also AI more broadly, and sharing that information with each other. So we are really working hard to understand all the best ways to rank in AI-driven search results, if you can, but also to keep growing and evolving, keep up to date with the evolving internet landscape. We're also doing hands-on adoption. I think every person on the team has touched AI in some way, shape, or form. People are using it to, we have our own icing to cake preferences here at ICND. So we have people who are all in on AI and they're trying out all the things, and they're the ones who are like, hey, did you guys know this? Did you know this? Then we have people who are like, hey, I really like my foundations. I'm going to adopt a little bit of AI here and there and everything in between. We're also continuously learning, not just about AI, but even the foundational concepts of digital marketing. We're attending seminars, we're going to webinars, we're participating in industry-wide discussions, and we're really up to date and trying to stay ahead on everything that we possibly can. And I would say one of the best things about ICND is we listen to you. We want to hear your pain points. We want to hear what's working. We want to hear what's not working. And we want to know how we and AI and EEAT methods can help your business thrive. So with all of that, I would be more than happy to chat. Please reach out. I'm happy to chat about this talk. I'm happy to talk about digital marketing. If you are interested in collaborating with ICND in some way, I'm happy to put you in touch with our sales team. And if you want to send me cake recipes, I would not be mad at that. So thank you so much for your time and attention today. I had a really great time, and I hope to hear from you soon.